Do you guys, yo, thoughts on a quick speed run? I know I'm late, which is why. Thoughts on a speed run of the, wait, where's my thing? Yo, speed run, who you should get in like 2 minutes or less, bro. Look at how fast this will be. This will be a speed run so that anyone who's asking me, you already know, right? I mean, okay, you probably already know, but this is more applicable if you're like a newer account. Because for newer accounts, it actually does matter. Speed run, bro, speed run. So I feel like I've provided some value. All I see is Xingqiu. Okay, can we? Yes, bro. Yes. Okay, Xingqiu is eternal. Xingqiu is it. The battlefield is dynamic. Xingqiu is eternal, bro. But yeah. We didn't get a new 4-star this year. It's kind of sad, bro. Our 4-star is Ilua. And even if you were available here, only one character can use them. Okay, we're doing this fast. I'm gonna do this fast, okay? I'm not gonna make a tier list. I'm just gonna say it audibly. Okay, ready? Okay, ready? Everyone ready? Okay. I was gonna go in order left to right, but I don't want to start with the GOAT. So I'm gonna go right to left. I'm gonna read Arabic style. We're starting from the right, we're going left. Deal? All right. Okay. Xinyan is not a character. Yunjin, wait, actually, let me restart. Disclaimer. If there's a character you just like and want to look at, you should choose them because enjoyment matters. Thumbs up. Okay, let's go now for real. Xinyan, not a character. Yunjin, increasing some normal attack damage is okay in some teams. Unfortunately, those teams aren't the most meta. If you play Yoimiya, then you can get her. The other teams aren't really real. I mean, you could play her with like Ayato, but you shouldn't. So it's mainly just like a Yoimiya thing. And in those teams, I think she has some cons that make her better, which I should check because I'm a guide maker. 1 second. I think it's like C2 and 6, but maybe I'm just saying the Ilua ones. Let me check. Cons. Yes, 2 increases normal attack damage by 15%. 6 increases attack speed. Wait, I was right. Okay. Anyways, so you know, maybe you just want attack speed, attack damage for like Yoimiya. You can get her. Typically not recommended though. Even Yoimiya as a character is not recommended. But if you like her, play normal attack teams. You can. But I think normal attack teams aren't real. Like there's literally just Yoimiya. Is there another? Chat, is there any other? Skirk. That's Arlecchino. No, I'm saying I'm saying like Yunjin teams. Yeah, I guess, okay, Skirk can't use her. I guess Arlecchino, but Arlecchino also can't use her. Or it's not that she can't, it's that almost every other option is just better. Like you'd rather play Bennett, Chevris, Sitlali, a Hydro character, Shilonin, Sucrose. So yeah. Yanfei is, let's say, she's a lawyer. I mean, that's pretty cool. Yanfei has 2 things she can do. Okay, one is be a DPS, but she doesn't do that for today's standards very well, so I wouldn't recommend it. The second thing she can do is with C4, she becomes a shielder, a pyro shielder, which can enable VV plus shielding in some teams. Now, this is a lot less a thing now than before. It's kind of a relic of the past. So you can still do it. It was mainly used for like Hu Tao with VV. Because Hu Tao can't apply pyro outside of her skill or burst, and you don't want to use those while you're setting up. So right now, it's not, and this would be like your sustain option and let you get VV. But 2 things. Number 1, those are like kind of older teams. And number 2 is that now from the same selector, you can get a better shielder who, in my opinion, might be the best, I'll say best 4-star shielder in the game. I'd say best shielder if you don't count like, I guess Inefa counts. And so does Sitlali. Never mind. But like, Lanyan's right here, and Lanyan can enable that, but we'll get to her in a bit. Yao Yao, honestly, I love Yao Yao, good Dendro healer, but the only problem with Dendro is like, it's in a weird spot right now where it was kind of really good for a while, and now it's like, okay, but it's either broken if you have Lauma, well, not broken, but like, Dendro teams are basically, you either have Lauma or you don't. If you don't, they're fine, but they're not great, and if you have Lauma, they're good. But as far as a 4-star goes, Yao Yao's pretty good. Like, she's a healer. She applies Dendro. She can apply Dendro on field. If not, you just chuck Yugo and you swap. She also is getting a new skin, which is pretty cute. That doesn't matter meta-wise, but it's worth mentioning. Works with Nilou. And then the rest is kind of generic, like aggravate stuff. I think those are her main teams. I guess you can use her as a healer with like Nefer, but you probably like Kuki's better there. So yeah. Although, I mean, it's not like she's much worse. But anyways, I guess it's just the uptime of her skill. But yeah, overall, I think Yao Yao's pretty good though as a Dendro. And you can give her Instructor, you can give her Deepwood, you can give her a support set. She can also on field a bit in a Nilou team. I think she's just a good 4-star. It just depends if you're playing Dendro teams or not, which I think will come in waves, right? It might depend on your account. Yeah, like last year I was like all in, like, or maybe like 2 years ago I'd be like click Yao Yao. Now it's like she's good, but it depends, you know. And I don't think she has. Does she have any cons? Because okay, with the selector, what matters isn't just do I want this character. It's also like it's not just do I have them. It's also what constellations are good, because you might have C3 of one of them. And you're like, hey, yo, Big Z, should I get C4? Right? So looking at her cons, C1 gives Dendro damage bonus to whoever, like, yeah, just Dendro damage bonus as your White Radish explodes. Typically in a lot of her teams, it doesn't really, like, this could matter if you're playing a Dendro carry, but a lot of times it doesn't, because usually you're doing like either Aggravate or Nilou Bloom, but maybe with like Alhaitham, if you're playing like an actual Dendro carry that's not Nefer because she does Lunar Bloom, then I guess it could work. It's mainly just an Alhaitham con, honestly. And then the rest is like healing and stuff. And more Dendro application is nice. Yeah, it's kind of whatever. I mean, they're nice, like more energy and more Dendro application. Like, it's good. C6 seems to be nice in Nilou teams, but like overall, yeah, you probably already have. Actually, no, I'm not gonna say you probably already have other options. I still like her for Nilou teams, and she's a decent healer for Alhaitham teams. And then outside of that, she's just a decent 4-star. I don't dislike Yao Yao. And then her C6 is pretty nice for more app. I remember liking it when I activated it. Next, we got Xiangling. Been fishing most of my life, catch Xiangling paradise. Okay, the problem with Xiangling is as follows. This little 2-minute segment, okay, and it's 2 minutes, I promise, isn't how good is the character. I know that's kind of what I was talking about with Yao Yao. I think for the record, I think Yao is pretty good as a 4-star. Meta relevancy just varies. Like right now, we're like all in lunar stuff. But anyways, Xiangling, you know she's good, okay? But the question isn't, is she good? Because you already have her. Everyone gets Xiangling for free. So the only time you should select her is if you don't have C4. Because Xiangling basically has one constellation, which is C4, that makes her much better. Power NATO goes from 10 seconds to 14 seconds. Really good, okay? So the only time I would recommend it is this: if you don't have C4, getting closer to it or going from 3 to 4 is huge. Also 3 is pretty good too. But yeah, like 5, 6, 1, 2 don't really matter. I guess 1 is Pyro Res Shred, it does. But until you get 4, then it doesn't matter. But like 1 and like just getting 1 alone doesn't do that much. But getting 1 and then 3 and then 4 is fucking huge. I mean, power level wise, she's still a fucking amazing 4-star. Like I know she's not Mawika, and now you can just like there is Mawika, but Mawika's a 5-star that's limited, and like so a lot of teams oftentimes will still. Like, I think she's, okay, this is how I think she changed from 1.0. I think in 1.0, her damage was so good that she's a carry. And that's been the case until, like, the Natlan. I think Natlan is when power levels started unethically rising a bit. And yeah, now there's Durin too. But I think despite that, even if now she's less of a carry, she's still one of your better off-field power options. Still the best 4-star one, and still just a good one overall. So it's like, and you get her for free, and you can get C4 through this. Well, one constellation. So like a lot of the times I'll still use her as a supportive option if I'm not playing a limited 5-star, which is good. Like that means it's good for like if you don't have every 5-star in the game. Like maybe you don't want to pull an off-field pyro app. So yeah, she can still be played in carry teams, of course. Like I don't think I need to explain that. When I do 4-star clears, I always use her as a carry. I always play her with either Chevy or Reverse Melt or like something. So she's always useful for me. Either on like off-field doing damage on a DPS set or off-field on a support set, like sometimes even Deepwood, right? And then she's just there to apply her element, which is fine. But I'd say she's less like oppressive than she used to be. I don't know if oppressive is the right word, but like, yeah, they've just been releasing a lot of broken characters, but she's still amazing. Ningguang, hey, Lunar Crystallize, a new reaction just came out. Maybe you want to play Ningguang Columbina Lunar Crystallize. How about that? Yeah, I think she's deserving of a Liyue buff. She's not great. I mean, you can play her as a carry. You can Lunar Crystallize with her. You can technically Thrilling Tales buff someone, but And like, okay, if you do want to play her as a carry, she does have some, her constellations are actually big. I know C2 gives you another Jade Wall. C6 gives you another big hit from her charge attack. So if you play her as a carry, you should probably get her cons. But as far as a character like value goes, it's not that high. For Lantern Rite, it's always been like, there's the good ones, and then there's the, if you like them, get them, but they're not that good, right? So I would put Ningguang there in that second category. Same with Chongyun. Chongyun. Sorry. Chongyun actually got one new use case, which is with Skirk. He's actually fine. I used him to clear Onslaught once to give me attack speed and cooldown reduction. It actually helped out. Now, he typically won't be the optimal last slot in a Skirk team, but the last slot is usually kind of whatever you have, so it's not that big of a deal if you use him. So he does have some use case. Then there's Lanyan, who is the GOAT. Honestly, I fucking love Lanyan. I think Lanyan's only crime was releasing too late, because if she was out in 1.0, everyone would be glazing her. Viridescent Venerer, amazing. Shield strength, honestly good, gets better with C2. And she's the only Anemo shielder, meaning that she's the only shielder that can apply VV, like trigger VV by swirling. So for elemental DPSs that are Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, or Electro, you get 40 res shred and gives you a really strong shield. So unless you're playing like Zibai, I typically would choose her over even Zhongli. Now, with that said, since then they released some new shielders like Sitlali and Inefa that aren't really used for their shielding, but also have a shield. So if you're playing that niche, like Melt or whatever Cryo team is running Sitlali, and whatever like Lunar Bloom team, what am I saying? Lunar Charge team is running Inefa, or just any Inefa team, you might not need another shield. But just getting, basically whenever you want to consolidate VV and healing / shielding in one role, Lanyan works really well. And because she's a catalyst, she can run Thrilling Tales. So not only are you getting the res shred, you're also getting 48% attack for, you know, half uptime to whoever you're carry, or not half uptime, 1/3. No, it's half uptime. Yeah, it's 10-20. What am I saying? Widsith is 30. Yeah, you're getting 48% attack to whoever your attack carry is. So you can give it to like an Arlecchino, for example. And I actually really like Lanyan with Arlecchino. So I think for the most part, Lanyan is one of the most appealing options. She also, I know C2 makes her a lot stronger, her shield a lot stronger. It doesn't matter for your damage, but makes her shield a lot tankier. C4 gives 60 EM to everyone, which is nice if you're like vaping on Arlecchino or just doing some reactions. So that's pretty cool. It can also make her burst worth using. But outside of that, it's mostly what you need to know. Yeah, I forgot about Thrilling Tales initially. TDDS, VV, Strong Shield, that's amazing. There's other Anemo healers. I want to point that out. You might not need her, right? Maybe you have an Anemo healer and you're playing that, and that's fine. Or you have a healer in another slot. But sometimes having a shielder is just important. Maybe you don't want to interrupt your combos. Maybe you want to play, you know, a character that can't heal on field, like Arlecchino. Then Lanyan can be great. Now, obviously, Arlecchino, yeah, like Arlecchino has other teams, right? I usually play her. I mean, I play her Mono Pyro quite a bit, where Lanyan's really good, but you can play her with like, you know, Melt with Sitlali where you don't need her, or like Chevre's teams where you can't use her. So it's not like she always has a slot in your team, right? But if she does, she's pretty good. Like if you want the Anemo shielder, she's very good. And her being a catalyst is a big deal. Okay, now the last three, and I'm going to keep this 2 minutes or less, all right? I'm speeding things up, I promise. We're going to keep this 2 minutes or less. Sorry. Beidou. Beidou, you already know how I feel about Beidou. I'm a big Beidou lover. Beidou is in a kind of, she's always been in a bit of a weird spot because she shines in specific content, which is where her burst can bounce between enemies optimally. So for the ideal for Beidou is 2 enemies, but basically more than 1 is good. So a lot of the times if you're doing like Stygian Onslaught, it's 1 guy. Sometimes in Abyss, it's just 1 boss. So it can be more difficult to make her work there, right? But sometimes you'll find Abyss rotations have 2 enemies, or, you know, maybe 3, and Beidou can work really well there. And where do I want to get with this? Basically, her exact value will vary based on how many enemies you're fighting, and she's a lot worse in single target. Now, historically, I've said, and this is still true, I'm saying this is true outside of like top meta level, which is like Stygian Onslaught difficulty 5, but that matters because you probably want to clear that to get max rewards. So anyways, I'll get there. But like for other content, usually her team can help alleviate her single target weakness. So a lot of times you play with Fischl. Fischl's really good at single target. You might even play a Taser team with like Xingqiu, also good in single target, right? And I think if you're updating that to today's meta, you can play Beidou probably with like Inefa Columbina if you want to, right? Like I don't think she'd be bad. And then if you're playing Taser, you can have someone swirling or whatever it is, right? She also gives you good defensive utility, but again, in the Electro slot, that's where you already have Inefa if you have her. So it can be a bit more like redundant depending on who you have. Basically, there's a lot of good Electros is what I'm trying to say. I think there's a lot of good Electro characters. Personally, my Beidou usage is either she carries me in a specific Abyss rotation when I'm using 4 stars, or she just isn't used. It's like 50-50. Well, maybe like 25-75. Her C2 is huge. Like I think her power level basically doubles at C2. I don't know the exact math, but like it's very big. It's probably not literally double, but like it's a big deal. And then C6 is Electro Res Shred, which is big for your whole team. And then I think the others are kind of whatever. Yeah, C1 helps give you a shield. So this is what gives you defensive utility. Now what lets you do some of the best 4-star Taser teams, which is Sucrose, Fischl, Beidou, Xingqiu. So why are those teams good? Because obviously you have a ton of damage, but also it kind of makes it easy to play when you have Beidou over someone else because she gives you a shield and Xingqiu also gives you damage reduction. So yeah, pretty nice. Oh yeah, also she gives you damage reduction as well from her burst. Yeah. So you get double damage reduction and you get a shield. But it's just that now there's the 5-star version of that, which is Inefa, who didn't exist before. So it's like, if you want to play Beidou, want a good 4-star team, maybe you're a newer player, her and especially getting her second constellation are good. But if you have Inefa or plan to get Inefa, then you're probably not going to use Beidou much, you know? Okay, sorry, I had to give her some praise because I love Beidou. But like, okay, at the end, I'll give you a little section for like what I would actually recommend as a new player, okay? Look, I gotta give pros and cons. Gaming is the best 4-star carry, but with a big asterisk. There's a big asterisk here. He is pretty expensive for a 4-star. A lot of his supports are expensive, or even him, right? Like, so, okay, number 1, Gaming basically becomes way, way stronger with C6, okay? C6 Gaming is night and day. This is 80 crit value, 20 crit rate, and 40 crit damage. This is like 2/3 of a circlet for crit rate and 2/3 of a circlet for crit damage. It is a lot. Okay, his other cons do stuff, but like none of them are even close to C6, which is broken. So you can get one Gaming for free, and if you like him, you can play him as a carry, and that's fine. But he becomes really, really strong at C6. So if you do plan on playing him, getting cons from and getting closer to C6 is a good idea. Other things I want to mention are that while he has some free-to-play weapon options like the Fontaine Craftable, his best weapons are like high refined 4-stars like Serpent Spine, which is Battle Pass, or Fruitful Hook, which is a weapon banner weapon. So they can be a bit difficult, but he can use a generic stat stick. It's not that big of a deal. And he does have solid free-to-play weapons, so that's not a big deal. But for max value, like, yeah, his weapons are kind of hard to get, and also his constellations are very important, mainly just one. Lastly, for his teams, I will say I recommend playing him with Sitlali. I mostly play him in 4-star teams for like 4-star only Abyss clears, and it's fine. Like I play Rosaria or Diona, and it's okay. Sitlali just gives you way more damage and way more comfort, so I would recommend getting Sitlali for him. And you know, it's not easy to get, like, that's a 5-star support. And then you probably also want... Actually, no, I think that's the only 5-star you want for him. So there's one that you would want for him. It's a big deal. If you don't have him, you could also vape with a good Hydro, or I would recommend like probably Farina Shanyun in that case. And Shanyun does also help him, another 5-star. Lastly, but if not, you can play a 4-star team with him, which is Chevreuse Overload. Now, I don't recommend not melting with him because he does slow hits of Pyro, like big slow hits. If you fast small hits, it can be hard to vape them or melt them all. But if you're doing big hits and it's slow, then it's easy to melt, which is why Sitlali works so well, okay? Or even just like Rosaria, Diona, whatever. You can double cryo even like Rosaria, Diona if you don't have Sitlali, but anyways. But so, like in some Abyss rotations, I've had to play Overload, and honestly, it's still pretty good. Like if you're playing Chevreuse, Bennett, Fischl, or Chevreuse, Fischl, whatever you have. Yansan's also good. I know I didn't say Yansan. Yansan, Chevreuse, probably want more Electro app, maybe Fischl there. Both of those are great. The only problem here is these are more expensive than you might think because all the 4-stars in his team do way more with constellations, right? Chevreuse, way better with cons. Fischl, way better with cons. Yansan, way better with cons. Bennett, always great, but better with cons too. So yeah, and he really wants C6. So he is the best 4-star carry, but he's pretty expensive in team building. Either you want high constellated 4-stars or good 5-star supports. But even if you don't have either, you can make a decent placeholder team for now, but it won't really start performing until much later. But yeah. Lastly, Xingqiu. Let me weave you a verse by the power of Guoa. Okay, quick 2-minute segment on Xingqiu. Yeah, just put the Xingqiu in the bag. If you don't have Xingqiu, get him. If you don't have Xingqiu C6, get it. If you want me to be honest. He is an incredible off-field hydro, even now that we have so many good ones. Even now that we have Farina, Columbina, Yelan, even Ino. The only problem with Xingqiu, and this isn't an actual problem because you need 3 teams for Stygian Onslaught and Hydro is such a good element. But the only quote-unquote problem is like, just in Nodcry alone, there's been a few characters that can't really make, that want really like short rotations. And so Xingqiu's burst being a 20-second cooldown can make Xingqiu feel less appealing than even just playing Ino. But what's cool is the following. So even there, which is his worst scenario, he can still be played in short rotations if you have Sack Sword by just using your skill and bursting every other rotation, and then you don't have to wait for the cooldown. And you can just use 1 skill each rotation. So he can even fit those teams. But generally speaking though, he's going to be your best 4-star Hydro option in almost every team that's not lunar damage where you can use Ino. And Ino only becomes better if either 1, she makes your rotations shorter, which isn't a thing if you're using Sack and alternating, or 2, if you have Ino cons. Because Ino cons, not to talk about Ino, we're supposed to talk about Xingqiu, but I'm explaining the worst case and then we'll talk about the best case. Ino cons make her go from 0 buffs, basically do nothing other than apply a bit of Hydro, to give EM and give lunar damage. So for like Flynn's, Nefer, and Zy0x specifically, yeah, I'd use Columbina, and then if not, Ino. But, and this is a big but, I used Xingqiu to clear Dire Onslaught last time with Nefer, and I have access to every character in the game. Now, granted, Columbina wasn't out, so that's, you know, that, but she's also a 5-star that you might want in another team, right? But anyways, so let me explain a little bit. Xingqiu is your best off-field Hydra app. He's the fastest, okay? He's the fastest off-field Hydra app. So, and the best generic 4-star Hydro. So in any team you want, any team that needs Hydro, Xingqiu can work. In a lot of teams, he can be one of your best options, sometimes the best, and sometimes just okay. All right? If you're playing like some of the newer lunar teams, you're probably going to want Columbina. If not, you can use Ino, you can also use Xingqiu. In those newer teams too, some other Hydra units like Yelan and Farina, whose damage bonus is usually really good, is wasted. So while they're still viable, they don't really do much, and basically every Hydra option, including a 4-star like Xingqiu, becomes equal. In other teams, other Hydras can be better, but especially as far as 4-stars go, Xingqiu is just really useful to have. Like I've never, even though I have so many characters, I still use Xingqiu. So yeah, and his cons are broken. Every constellation except 1 is good. So you should definitely get C6. It's his best one. I guess 5 is also bad, but 2 is great, 3 is great, 4 is great, 5, well, 4 is okay, 5 is okay. I guess 4 is okay, 5 is like pretty bad, and then 6 is really good. So yeah, it also gives you more Hydra app. So I mean, I like Xingqiu. I really do. And like, I know I'm talking to a Twitch chat that's just been watching Zy0x Columbina gameplay, so you're used to people having every 5-star, but like, especially if your account is newer or limited, having a good 4-star Hydro is like insane value. And even if your account isn't limited, oftentimes Xingqiu still will make an appearance in, at the very least, Imaginarium Theater, but usually either Stygian or Abyss, or like, I guess it depends on what you're building, right? Like if you're playing Overload and Mawika and like Skirk, yeah, you might not have room. But like at that point, you don't need any character. Like if you have 3 perfect teams, you need no one, and you're watching this, and your takeaway from watching this should be, I'll just choose the character I think is cooler. But like, look, let me look at my Stygian history. I'm sure I've used Xingqiu. I didn't do this Dire yet, but I will. Look, this was before Columbina, but Xingqiu was optimal here. Like he was my best choice. Here, again, before Columbina, but I needed a lot of Hydra app. I used both Xingqiu and Yelan, right? To hyperbloom this crab. Is that it? Okay, that's it. But I mean, still, right? That's 2. This one, I saw good friend Jamie did a C0 Dire clear, which I'm going to do when I'm back home. He used Xingqiu with Nevalette, literally just for Hydra app, and Xingqiu was on Instructor. So even when the power level rises, right? This is another thing. I didn't really fully talk about Xingqiu. I'm sorry for the order. Xingqiu typically does good off-field Hydra damage with Emblem, a supportive weapon, and he has really good single target damage and really good Hydra app. But if your power level is too high, let's say you have a hyper carry that does too much damage and his personal damage isn't that much, he can also run supportive sets. Silken Moon Serenade, Deepwood Memories, Instructor, whatever, just because he has good application. He also has Orbital Hydro App from his Rain Swords that are around him, which also give you damage reduction and a bit of healing, allowing for certain either healerless or pretty bad healing teams. And he works like in Taser because of that, and it allows you to sometimes skip your burst if you're skilling and bursting every other rotation. So I don't know. He's just good, bro. He's just good, just like he is, and he can be played for damage or application, and he's a 4-star. So yeah, let me give you a takeaway. That's who should I pick? Okay, step one: if there's any character you just really want and would regret not having, and you play for fun, then you should choose them. Meta wise though, Xingqiu and his constellations are amazing. Xiangling until C4 is good. Lanyan is an incredible shielder. If you can play teams that are of a swirlable element, so Anemo plus shielding can make her good. But Xingqiu and Xiangling are like the two ones whose main cons are amazing. Lanyan, good shielding. Gaming at C6 becomes an incredible carry. And those are like the main ones. Then there's Yao Yao, who can be a good Dendro healer as well. If you play a team that can use her, she's good as well. Beidou with C2 can be decent. And then the others are kind of, yeah.